Hi, it's Rob Bryanton, November 8th, 2007. This is the Imagining the 10th Dimension video blog entry. Today I'm going to be reading from a blog entry that acknowledges the closing of one of the polls that are happening there. And I do want you to check out the polls whenever you can. It's a fun way to participate in the ideas that are being explored here. We've got a new simplified address for getting to the text version of the blog. If you go to www.10thdimension.com/blog, that'll direct you to the blog, and hopefully there'll be a poll that you can participate in there if you go there right now. The reason I'm saying it that way is because chances are you're watching this as a pre-recorded entry, and what we're doing right now is using the magic of Ustream.tv. We're playing these pre-recorded shows on a loop. The text that's scrolling down underneath my image here, if you're in the 10thdimension.com/chat window, is coming to you live, and anybody who has things to say about what we're talking about in the show can discuss this with each other as it goes. And I'm also, during this blog entry today, going to be acknowledging some of the things that people have been saying for the last little while in that chat. So the blog entry today is called Welcome to the Fifth Dimension, and it goes like this. Our poll question closing today was as follows. Was Kaluza right? Is our physical reality really being defined at the fifth rather than the fourth dimension? I'm pleased that a significant majority, 75% of visitors to this blog have agreed with me. We're actually in the fifth dimension, not the fourth. In last week's blog entry, Information Equals Reality, I talked about Kaluza's proposal to Einstein back in 1919 that our reality is created within the fifth rather than the fourth dimension. Einstein considered this idea for 2 years, then gave it his full endorsement. Here is how I believe my way of visualizing the dimensions fits in with that. Physicists and philosophers keep saying the same thing. Time is an illusion. For me, this is easily translated to the world of quantum mechanics because we have to realize that the illusion of continuous reality we experience as time is actually a series of frames, or quanta, a discrete series of nows being created one Planck length away from the next. This is where we get to David Deutsch and his team at Oxford, who have offered a proof that each next now is chosen from a bush-like branching structure of multiple choices that are probabilistic, and that this is equally true whether we are looking at the quantum world or our physical reality. All of those choices exist within the quantum fields of the multiverse. So, I have proposed, and many visitors to this blog appear to agree with me, that Kaluza was right about the fifth dimension. The leap of logic that I then take is that Deutsch's probabilistic bush-like branching structure actually is in the fifth dimension. And this is where critics of my book and my animation say that I stop making sense. Even though time feels like a one-dimensional, one-way arrow, they say, there's no reason to propose that higher dimensions are needed to allow for quantum indeterminacy or free will. But what about Kaluza and Einstein's agreement on our reality coming from the fifth dimension then? If our probabilistic next available choices are always one Planck length away, and the probabilistic nature of those branches means that there are always many available choices but only one is actually observed, then this is how I fit the string theory idea of the higher dimensions being curled up on themselves down at the Planck length into my way of imagining the dimensions. This is also how we get to the idea that we are twisting and turning in the fifth dimension, choosing one now after the next, while we feel ourselves to be experiencing a one-way arrow, line of time in the fourth dimension. As a way of visualizing, this can be equated with the idea of a Flatlander traveling on a Mobius strip. Down at the Planck length, our fourth dimensional line is twisting and turning as we make our choices from the fifth dimension, but we are unaware of that motion down here in the dimensions below. Physicists tell us that gravity is the only force that exerts itself across the higher dimensions. Because I'm willing to acknowledge the possibility of things like intuition, prescience, new ideas that suddenly sweep the world, conscience, instinct, voices of the ancestors, and so on, this seems to imply that I believe gravity is not the only way that our current reality can be affected by other dimensions. But that's where memes come in, and I've talked about memes a lot in my book, in this blog, and at the 10th Dimension Forum. Still, gravity, when combined with memes, does offer a lot of possibilities, particularly if you're willing to think about memes as simply being ways of organizing the information that is our reality. In the big picture of timelessness, gravity is the force that draws us towards not change, as opposed to change. For instance, my idea that all of the possible timelines for our own universe occupy a specific position in the multiverse implies that they would have their own cumulative gravity effect within the higher dimensions to keep our physical reality locked in down here in the dimensions below. Hence, the reason why no amount of choice, chance, circumstance, or quantum observation moves us out of the specific different initial conditions universe we're part of. My song Change and Renewal takes the idea of higher dimensional mean shapes that could be making themselves felt down here in space-time and plays with that idea in new and creative ways that, as usual, are far outside the realm of mainstream physics, but fun to think about nonetheless. And we're going to finish today's video blog entry with that song. But in the meantime, I'd like to now stop reading from the blog here and just look at some of the things that have been posted at the chat logs. So what's happening then, I talk about this from time to time just because I know there is some confusion when people go to the chat window. They see me talking, they see text scrolling underneath, and they don't know why I'm not responding. That's because chances are right now you're looking at a pre-recording. There's a number of other ways that you could be looking at this show as well, including from watching it at rever.com. You could be watching it if you just go to 10thdimension.tv, then you become just somebody watching a TV show. You could also be watching this at ustream.tv, where our show is being broadcast from, and that's the marvelous technology that is being used to allow these shows to be streamed, and it's definitely something, if you're interested in creating your own streaming television show, I'd suggest you go to ustream.tv and see that. It's an amazing new development that makes it very easy for anybody who wants to create a television show and broadcast it to the world to be able to do that. So going back, since the last time we were looking at the chat logs was November 1st or 2nd or so, I'm just going to look at some of the things that have been said since then. Somebody says, I'm sorry, but what is the 10th dimension about? And my response to them, because I am sometimes when I'm able to be in the text window at the bottom as well. So just because my video portion of the comments is not live at the moment doesn't mean that I might not be able to check in and respond to you if you do type in a question. My response to this person was just, have you watched the 11-minute animation? And they said no. That's one of the things that's happening now as the 10th dimension meme is becoming more extended throughout the Googleverse, we've been calling it. Some people are coming to the chat window without having seen the 11-minute animation that started out as being what made this site so popular. By all means, if you haven't watched that, that's your way into these ideas, and that is available at rever.com. If you just type in 10th dimension as a search there, it'll come up. Or if you go to YouTube and type in Imagining the 10th Dimension, you'll find some of the versions of the animation that have been posted there as well. Somebody else asked then, why didn't you explain what the 8th and the 5th dimensions are? And that is, some people when they watch the animation at the first time, they think I've somehow skipped over my description of some of the dimensions. There is the starting point of the discussions that we've been getting into is all contained within the animation, but we're talking about such a huge ranging scope of ideas here that there's no possible way that all of the ideas that we're talking about can be encapsulated into that little 11-minute animation. So at that point, I didn't respond to them because I wasn't on the site live, but somebody else at youtube.com posted a similar question, and I did respond to them with another way of talking about what each one of the dimensions can be described as, and that's something that you'll see often discussed in the 10thdimension.com/forum as well, which is another place where people can exchange ideas and debate the concepts that we're exploring here. Somebody later in the day says, wow, all I can say is wow, Mr. Bryanton, you really took some highly complicated ideas and explained them in layman's terms. Thank you. And then they say, I haven't been to your website in quite some time. There was a flash demonstration of your concept on here. Have you taken it down? And I responded there that yes, the flash version that used to be available, we found it was just so immensely popular that it became too expensive for the site to be able to continue, which is why now, if you're interested in that flash version, you can purchase it for a small fee. And if you go to 10thdimension.com/digital, that'll take you to the digital item store, which then gives you a way to download the site, or the version of the animation that is what made this whole project so popular in the first place. It also is not just flash versions for PC and for Mac, but also a much higher resolution QuickTime than the versions that people are familiar with from YouTube and Rever, etc. So it's great fun to watch, seeing it in the much higher resolution. There's a lot of detail in those graphics that gets blurred by the time it's been compressed down to be shown on the live streaming video sites and video sites like YouTube. So do please check it out if you're interested in seeing that. That's the best place for you to see it right now. Just going to the next day here, somebody says, no need for his musical assault on the senses. Interesting topic, though. And that is actually one of the things that people do say from time to time when they think this is all about physics, rather than a creative exploration of the ideas that unite physics and philosophy. People see the discussions that are happening here, and then something comes on with me singing a song, and they go, What's going on? Where did that come from? For me, that's how this project started. I had written actually about 40 songs that explored all the different ideas behind this project. Then I started writing a booklet that would help to explain that for the CD, and ended up boiling it down to just 26 songs out of that original bunch that now are available and are a part of the project. The lyrics to the songs are listed at the end of the book, and videos are available on Rever and YouTube and multiple other places as well. And that's some of the videos are highly produced videos. Some of them are just me sitting at the piano, and the one we're going to be looking at the end of today's show is just me sitting at a piano. So moving on to the next day, just scrolling through here to see some of the things. Somebody says, how'd you hear about the book? I know someone that's obsessed with it. And somebody else responds, how do they like it? Silly question, I guess. And the person writes back and says, well, they're obsessed with it. And then the question comes up, do they ever talk about 2012? That is one of the things that gets touched on briefly in the book, but only in as much as if we're talking about a multiverse of every possibility, then that means that no matter where you are in time, there are always going to be people predicting the end of the world. And right now, we have a new meme that's been growing in popularity. I wrote about it when I first started writing this book 2 years ago. I identified it then as it looking like the most, potentially the most popular end of the world scenario. And sure enough, a couple of years later now, it's 2012 is becoming identified more and more as what it looks like is going to be the next big surge forward for people to say this is when the end of the world is going to happen. If there's a multiverse of possibilities out there, as Everett first proposed back in 1954 is when he came up with the idea, went for a couple decades there with most quantum physicists saying, no, that's not real, but now the many worlds hypothesis is what people are saying actually is a good way of explaining the multiverse that we're proposing could exist from the quantum physics world right out to the world that we're observing right now. And that doesn't mean what they call the Copenhagen interpretation is invalid. It just is another way of expanding it out to explain why we're only witnessing one world at this moment, but all those other worlds do really exist out there in a multiverse of potential branching possibilities. And what I like about that is then it identifies free will as being a possibility that is encoded into the nature of our reality. Somebody else writes in, In higher dimensional levels, we could visit those other realities where other decisions have been played out, right? And somebody else writes, and in Hogwarts I can cast spells. I still don't get the point. This is created by imagination. And yes, we're talking about a work of creativity and imagination, but we are talking about something that is based upon the nature of reality as defined by one of the major branches of science, quantum physics. Out of all the different portrayals of reality, quantum mechanics is the one that has really stood the test of time and keeps getting pointed at as being the basic explanation for how our reality is constructed. So string theory and the multiverse version of reality, the many worlds version of reality, are also extensions that my way of imagining the dimensions encapsulates into quantum physics as well, and that's where some people are still saying, you can't prove to me that other dimensions exist. And to the extent that that may be true right now, we have to accept that. But there are many new sciences out there that are talking about that we are rapidly approaching proofs that could be demonstrating how the higher dimensions do really exist, and that might then be, when we reach that moment, the time when some of the crazy ideas I've been talking about here with Imagining the 10th Dimension might actually be shown to be a way of encapsulating those ideas together. So I happened to join in the conversation around there and mentioned this 2012 idea. And then I said to the people writing in at that moment, actually the book is more about the multiverse and quantum physics, but it mixes in a lot of other ideas as well. The fact that my way of imagining the dimensions ends with 10, and string theory / M theory says there are 10 spatial dimensions, M theory says +1 of time, may only be an interesting coincidence. And then I asked the people who were in the chat room at that point if they had heard about the David Deutsch proof that was published in September, and that's something. If you search for that, this is a proof that appears to identify how the parallel universes that are happening from moment to moment really do exist and are part of the branching possibilities that are part of quantum physics. So continuing on here, yes, I then talked about some of these ideas with the people in the room at the time, and somebody says, what main topics do you touch on in the book? And just off the top of my head right at that moment I said the nature of time, memes, free will versus hard determinism, the role of creativity in all this. It's very diverse. And so that was the discussion that was happening then. That continued on with someone named Brandon who had some really good questions about quantum physics and reading books like Elegant Universe. And this is certainly something I want to underline here. If you're hoping to learn about string theory, please go talk to a string theory expert. I'm exploring ideas that relate to all of that, but I'm not trying to teach people, because what I'm talking about is something that that explores a much more diverse range of ideas than that, and some of them are just too out there for mainstream science to be willing to acknowledge right now, which is fair enough. I'm a composer, not a physicist, and I'm interested in creative exploration of ideas. So so that's one of the things that that I do have to underline from time to time, because people sometimes criticize this project as saying that I'm trying to make some sort of a scam happen here where I'm trying to mislead people about science. Not at all. There are things about mainstream science that do tie in very nicely with what I'm talking about, but the way that I'm tying all this stuff together is still a creative exploration, and it's fun to think about. But if you want to try to go back to your physics teacher in the university class and say, Rob Bryanton says this, don't be surprised when your physics teacher says, that's not real, because what I'm exploring is much bigger than that. So the person I was talking with, Brandon, asks about some of the books that and concepts that I've been exploring. I mentioned Minsky's Society of Mind, Dawkins, concept of selfish genes and selfish memes. I also mentioned one of my favorite books, The Origin of Consciousness in the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind, which is something we haven't talked about very much in this video blog, but it's an important part of what we're discussing here as well, because it relates very strongly to the nature of consciousness and how there might be things coming to us from the other dimensions that are related to our understanding of consciousness, and that we might really just be a large connection of memes that are all interacting with each other. Moving on to the next day, again, we got somebody writing in saying, is this live? And at that moment I happened to be there, so I just wrote back, this video is a recording, but I'm typing live. And the person who was in the room at that time, Rick, asked a few questions about gamma ray bursts and black holes, and asked if this question, if his question was related to the ideas I'm exploring. We have talked a little bit about dark matter and dark energy, but again, that would probably be something better left to an expert to discuss. I did get into an interesting discussion with Rick just then, but I also cautioned him that what we were talking about was still just us playing with ideas, and not something that should be construed as me trying to be a physics teacher. Then my good buddy John spent some time, and let's see, I'm just looking here. Looks like he talked for about an hour, just making his comments into the end of the room. John is a fascinating guy who definitely deals with some of the ideas that are explorations that we start from, but he takes it in some amazing ways that are pretty fun. He just bought the book and is reading it right now. So this day he writes in, so let's just read through some of the stuff he says. So E is infinite energy, and MC squared is our limit of perceiving this energy in our 4 spatial dimensions over time. Or is it 5 dimensions? I can never keep up with modern physics. And he says, and yeah, Rob, my family is competing to read your book, laughing out loud. I find it more useful to chill on the forums and in here. And think about the intro loop on your DVD. It would continually make sense. People would watch the intro for like 3 hours before getting to the real content of the DVD. I haven't been in here for a while. Nice to chat to the video loops, and this is one of the things John has been doing, which I'd encourage more people to do, because that's the thing is there are all sorts of extensions of ideas that can be branched to at any moment from the stuff that's happening here. And if you're in the 10thdimension.com/chat window, there's also all those videos over to the right. And if you've already seen the show that you're watching in the left-hand window, and you'd like to talk to each other about what's happening in some of the other videos that have been posted over to the right, then by all means just turn the volume down on me, and I'll keep moving my mouth without making any noise, and you can discuss with each other some of the other things. Just scrolling on here, John gets into the video for secret societies, and he says it reminds me of the Discordia pages. Have you checked those out? The concept is linked to dachymetry, my theory is. And I asked him if that was related to the Illuminati trilogy. I've read a little bit more, and it turns out the Illuminati trilogy is actually related back to those concepts, and that it was a creative exploration of taking just about every conspiracy theory in the world and trying to roll it all together. The Illuminati trilogy is pretty fun to read, though, if you're looking for a creative exploration of how we got to this moment in time, and the conspiracies that might have got us here. That's a great book to read. John then says, my theory is that women are perfect circles, or can be represented as such, and males are angular and go from line to angle to triangle, and from there it's a gradual progression from triangle to anagon. In other words, a shape that has just a particular number of dimensions that aren't defined, in order to fill the circle. Very, very organic way of looking at geometry. I write back to him and ask him if he knows about the original Flatlanders book. That's one of the books that I've referred to from time to time here. My concept in the 11-minute animation of Flatlanders being two-dimensional creatures actually started from that book, Flatland. And in that book, two-dimensional creatures' social standing is determined by the number of sides they have. By the time you get to more and more sides, you keep getting circles or shapes that approach a perfect circle, and a perfect circle would be something that actually has the absolute maximum number of sides. Fun ideas to play with, and it reminds me too of one of the things that I talked about in the blog, which is the idea that that Einstein agreed we're in the fifth dimension. And you know, if you see it, space-time, when people show images of space-time and then they talk about gravity being a bending of space-time, if we're calling this flat space-time now the fourth dimension, if you bend that fourth dimension with gravity, what are you bending into? You're bending the fourth dimension into the fifth dimension. I think that's an easy way to think about what we're talking about here. That we really are in the fifth dimension rather than the fourth. But those are all ideas that we can save for another time. So I'm going to wrap up today with the song that we were going to talk about change and renewal, which is a blending of a bunch of ideas, including the idea that water is one of those multidimensional shapes, another spine that you can think of, all the water that connects each of us to each other and us through time and space to life itself is part of one of the exploration ideas that we're working in. Have you had your water today? Make sure you drink lots of it. That might be where you're going to get your next new idea. Thanks for now. This is Rob Bryanton, Imagining the 10th Dimension.
I keep changing.